Welcome to the Primetime News Bulletin here on Joy News. Coming up, 2012 MPP flag bearer calls for National Forum to discuss proposed electoral reforms. Desalination project to end water supply problems to Teshi and its environs progressing steadily. Residents of Ningo, still bitter over what they believe is discrimination against them, complain about the lack of basic social amenities such as potable water. National Petroleum Authority hints fuel price increases of between 3 and 20% from next week, in line with bi-weekly review. An Environmental Protection Agency shuts down mining firm over violations. There's also sports, showbiz, and international news coming up. In our very first story, the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party during the 2012 election, Nana Akufo-Addo, has called for a national forum to discuss calls for electoral reforms proposed by the Electoral Commission. He made the call when officials of the National Peace Council paid a courtesy call on him at his residence in Accra.
Nana Addo said the integrity of the country's democracy was at stake and must be protected.
The Ghanaian people are the real guarantors of what we are doing. And after all these initial years of turbulence in the governance of our nation, we took what I believe were many wrong turnings, one-party state, military rule, and the rest. The Ghanaian people have come to embrace the democratic system of governance with all its implications. And that is why we have such a solid foundation for the peaceful development of our people. So for me, they are the first source of inspiration and encouragement that the way that we're going is very much the way that our people want us to go, to develop Ghana as a stable, democratic entity. And that should be the focus of all of us, how we can continue down the path of democratic consolidation and make sure that the aspirations for freedom and for progress that are the heart of the Ghanaian project are realized.
He also called for a relook at the methodology for the proposed electoral reforms being proposed by the Electoral Commission.
If we are going to avoid tensions and possibilities of violence on our elections, we do so because we deepen the culture of democracy in our country. Because ultimately that is the best guarantee when all of us, stakeholders, electorate, political leaders, accept that the democratic avenue for national progress is the best that we have. And ultimately that depends on focusing on the ballot box as the true measure of progress in governance or otherwise. And that it becomes the only instrument for changing or maintaining government. But if that matter is accepted, sincerely accepted by all of us, many of the tensions and the difficulties that surround elections in our country will disappear.
Chairman of the National Peace Council, Professor Emmanuel Asante, commended Nana Addo for his statesmanship in accepting the court verdict.
We, members of the Peace Council Civic Forum, IDEC, some other CODEO, thought that we would come together to first of all congratulate you and to let you know that what you did for your nation, we really do appreciate that.
He also added his voice for the cause for electoral reform.
The next step is for all of us to seek ways and means of talking. We believe that there is the need for something that we may call national agenda, something that our manifestos and other things will seek to move forward in the interest of Mother Ghana. And we know that you have the capacity, you have been there, it is your concern. And we came to let you know that we are there to give the necessary support that is needed in this area.
Executive Director of IDEC, Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, also called for the need to set up a national agenda beyond the electoral reforms to consolidate the country's democracy.
The national agenda, as we see it, is not just about electoral reforms in terms of improving the efficiency of ballots and voting. The electoral reforms alone will not bring about an end to the recurring cycle of turbulent elections and polarizing politics in our nation. We think there is good scope for us to see the kind of reforms that will strengthen institutions like Parliament and would also strengthen executive governance in the country.
Former Finance Minister Dr. Yaw Osafo-Maafo expressed grave concern that the calls for electoral reforms were being proposed by the Electoral Commission.
If you want reform in this country and you want people to come in and contribute effectively, then we need a national forum, the type you are urging, to discuss even the electoral reforms, so that everybody takes part. We all agreed, needed legislations are passed, and we get a reform that will give Ghana election that will not push us to the brink of confusion.
In another development, the 2012 MPP flag bearer has joined the Muslim community in a special Thanksgiving service to thank God for seeing the party through the 8-month-long Supreme Court hearing. Nana Addo once again reiterated his commitment to peace and strengthening the country's democracy. Now that's where we got these images from, which I like to see as being the photo of the week.
Nana Addo was accompanied by some leading members of the party, including his running mate, Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia, party chairman Jake Obechebi-Lamte, and other leading members. The national chief imam, Sheikh Dr. Nuhu Shaributu, recited the Quran and offered a special prayer for the delegation. Nana Addo later addressed the gathering.
Certainly my photo of the week. In other news, work on the $125 million sea desalination project to supplement potable water supply to Accra is midway through. The project, upon completion, will supply 13 million gallons to help resolve a long-standing shortage facing Teshi and its environs. Completion date for the project, being undertaken by Befesa Development, a Spanish company, is set for November next year.
The desalination process will involve removing the salt from the seawater drawn from the ocean and clearing out the other impurities to make it safe for consumption. The reverse osmosis technology will be deployed in the Ningo project.
The first process is a pre-treatment. We do some operation with the water. We try to reduce the content in suspended solids and so on, to try to pass the water to another step, which is the ultrafiltration.
Officials have already laid a 450-meter pipeline deep into the ocean to draw the seawater. The long reach into the sea is to ensure the plant does not draw in fecal matter and other waste products normally found near the beachfronts to avoid clogging the pipeline. The Water Resources, Works and Housing Minister, who was taking around the project, said the project will be replicated in other parts of the country.
This is a new technology that is coming on board, and it is just fair that you wait until you finish this one and see how it goes before you replicate it. Let's all be patient. If this one gets completed by 2014 and is tested to be perfect, we then will think of how we'll replicate it in other places. But the process of investigation and all that can begin now.
The managing director of Hydrocool, one of the companies involved in the project, is optimistic it will significantly ease the water problems of the beneficiary communities.
A few years ago, this concept came of developing a desalination plant here to augment Ghana water supply to this area. Ghana Water chose this particular site because they felt that they haven't been able to supply water to this area for a very long time. And it is at the tail end of their distribution network. It was very difficult finding partners because throughout Ghana's history there has been no private investment in the water sector. So this is the first private investment in the Ghana water sector.
The plant owners have an agreement in place to sell the water to the Ghana Water Company Limited for onward distribution to its customers. Ownership of the plant will revert to government after a 25-year period, during which it is expected that Bifesa would have recouped its investments.
Ningo, a town here in the Greater Accra region, has always complained it is sidelined in the allocation of social amenities and infrastructure, often in favor of its better endowed neighbor Pram Pram. The perception could probably have fueled a rivalry between the two towns, spanning more than a decade, which came to a head when it had to do with the choice of a capital for the newly created Ningo Pram Pram district. It's been a year since Pram Pram won, and Ningo is still demanding the district capital status, which should hopefully bring with it basic amenities such as potable water. Gifty Ando-Apia has more.
Between my visit last year and now, there is a significant improvement in the Ningo township, even as the population continues to soar. Two of their many needs they want urgently addressed are the road network and water, but their quest for water is stronger. It's early morning in Ningo. A group of 5 children assemble in what looks like a daily teeth brushing ritual. They do this to ensure sanity in the use of a very scarce resource. It appears even this little boy, who seemed really busy brushing his teeth, was conscious of the absence of water as he wipes froth off his thigh. Mother of the 5, Aisha, tells me 6 of the 20 years she and her family have lived here in Ningo has been without clean water. She shows me water from a pond nearby. That caught my attention, so we followed up to the source, Hausavu, the only source of water on which the people of Ningo depend for every chore except drinking. It used to be water for the cows, but today and for many years, this has been a source of hope for the people of Ningo because water does not flow through their taps for weeks and even months. This muddy, creamy-looking water may come with its own health risks to the people who use it, but the other option is very expensive. It was here that I met 3 characters: Gilbert Humeku, who calls himself a royal and opinion leader, Mamle Komi, and Gladys Deborah, who summarized the entire needs of the town in a flash.
We need water in the town. All the time, lighting a pump, electricity in water all the time. Water, our road in a fine, our road almost pipe almost 10 years.
Mamle is not sure about her age, 48 or 64, but she has lived here long enough to be upset, especially with authorities, for not attending to issues plaguing them.
If we tell them, they don't do it. Always, if something come, they be safe for themselves. We don't have water just for this alone. Sometimes it finishes. Then we buy the poly tank.
2-time former assemblyman Gilbert Humeku told me provision of infrastructure for such amenities is usually beyond the assembly.
Assemblymen, our limit is at a point. For construction or having pipe and water to the place must be above them. And this water problem started from Pram Pram, the Huenya, through to Pram Pram before Ningo here. And that has caused the problem, which we know is a general problem, that they are repairing the pipe. For about 7 years now, we have not had regular water. And it comes as and when.
Acting Chief of the area, Nene Atiapa III, explains how the absence of these much-needed amenities affects the community.
7 years now, we don't have water. Some of them, they can't stay. They don't have the means to be buying water all the time. We wrote petitions upon petitions, letters upon letters to the government. They have started a new construction on the water, which passed here up to Ahiam. But still, we don't have water now. So we are waiting for them. If the time they will open the water for us and then we all die before they open it too, we don't care.
7 years of use of this water seem to have created a level of familiarity, and so though residents do not drink, they find it okay to wash their faces and even wash their mouths with water in the Hausavu. But by the free-range nature of this water, children like those we chanced upon can afford to play in mud because they have access to easy washing water, thereby increasing the pollution. Availability of such utilities ties into the Millennium Development Goal 7C, which talks about halving by 2015 persons without access to sustainable safe drinking water and basic sanitation. 2015 is about 2 years away from now. But beyond achieving a goal, the people who come face to face with these daily struggles want their needs met. Whether there is a target to achieve or a goal to attain, the most important fact for the people of Ningo, like this little girl, is simple: access to potable water now and for generations unborn. For Joy News, Gifty Ando-Apia.
And we have more stories coming up. Stay tuned. The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, has shut down Romex Mining Ghana Limited over violations of conditions in its operating permit. The company is also accused of flouting some environmental regulations. The decision to shut down Romex was taken when the EPA paid an unannounced visit to its site at Mimpiasem in the Amansia West District of the Ashanti region. Emmanuel Ante went along and returned with this report.
We are at Ahinsu, to be precise, Romex Mining Company Limited, who have changed names 3 times in less than a year, and to inspect what they have done so far, or they have been doing so far since they were issued license in 2012. With me is the Deputy Director, Mining Department of the EPA, Mr. Sando Ali, to tell us what we are here for. Sir, you're welcome to Joy News.
Thank you.
Okay, sir, what are we here for?
We are here for a compliance enforcement monitoring. We expect to see that Romex is complying with the permit condition that we gave them in the permit that the EPA gave them. We want to see whether they are doing mining according to best practice. We want to see how they are doing their slimes disposal and how they are doing. They were supposed to do a river diversion. So we want to see some of those things and how they are doing the processing, whether it is of best practice, how the hydrocarbon management within the mine setup is also done.
Romex commenced operations late last year after it was granted a permit in October the same year. In less than the 12 months that it has been operating, however, its name has been changed 3 times from Romex Ghana Limited to Abri Goldfields Ghana Limited and now FCMI Accra Ghana Limited. The Deputy Director at the EPA's Mining Department, however, says the operating permit could not have been transferred to the renamed entities.
One of the conditions in the permit is that change of ownership, change of anything, the EPA must be notified, and so that we can take the necessary steps. Now we don't know which is the company running this affair. The permit is in the name of Romex, and so that mandates to, or that means that there is deceit, because the monthly returns that we receive comes in the name of Romex, but Romex is not on the ground doing the mining itself.
The team then headed to the mining site where further violations were discovered. The company had failed to follow laid-down procedures for reclaiming the lands where the company had scraped the topsoil to extract ore. It had also dammed the Ahinsu stream for its operations instead of diverting it. One of the officials found at the site attempted explaining the infractions to the furious EPA team.
We've only blocked this one.
Who gave you approval to dam Ayensu?
I don't understand your
Water
question.
Resources Commission Act 522. And you arrogated yourself powers to dam the stream dam the stream.
We haven't exactly dammed the stream. For now,
you've partially dammed it.
We've just stopped it not to join the tailings.
So what have we done? So what have we done? You stop it from joining the tailings. It's not damming.
Well, you can call it damming.
The team then went ahead to shut down the company.
Giving a directive to Romex Mining Company Limited to stop or halt operations until further notice, when we would have seen that the right things have been done. As we've all seen from the field, they are not doing mining according to best practice. They were supposed to post a reclamation bond 6 months from operations, which they have not also done. And then based on that and other factors, processing, you all know, is not done according to best practice. You see that the water settlement ponds are supposed to have been constructed, which were not constructed. And so based on these outcomes, we are shutting down the facility until further notice.
The EPA may be justified in sanctioning mining firms such as Romex for such serious infractions. But a probably even more grievous phenomenon is the wanton destruction of the productive lands, such as the 10-acre cocoa farm taken over by the mining operations here, especially at a time when the president at the recent Cocoa Stakeholders Forum to try and boost the contribution of the sector. The EPA permit in this instance may as well be a permit to do away with crops in the pursuit of precious stones. Emmanuel Ante, Joy News, Amansia West, Ashanti Region.
A 19-year-old SHS leaver has been arrested by the Tesano police for transporting a substance suspected to be cocaine. The suspect was busted at the Achimota bus terminal here in Accra on his way to Pokwase with the booty. Matilda Nyakwa Dennis has more.
The 19-year-old, who said he is preparing to sit the November-December WASSCE exams again, is a resident of Alajo here in Accra. Tesano Police Commander, Chief Superintendent Lydia Donko, told newsmen the suspect, Godfred Laye, was arrested on the morning of 12 September with 94 pieces of the wrapped narcotic substance suspected to be cocaine.
We are going to send it to our forensic lab in the course of investigations. But he was packaging it at the terminal station, and according to him, from the initial investigations, it was given to him from a gentleman called Issa to transport it to a place in Pokwase. So he's been doing it, according to him. This is about the second time he's been doing it, and he gets some amount of money from it to help him in his schooling. So obviously it's a criminal offense and it has to be dealt with by the law. So he was arrested by the private security but handed over to us, the police. So we are going to conduct investigations and then the law will take its course from there.
Godfred Laye, who says he also doubles as a rap artist, told the police he received 5 Ghana cedis for his errands.
I was sent to bring it, to take it from somewhere to another place. I took it from Nima and I was taking it to Pokwase. It's like I used to take it to Pokwase, but sometimes I'm meeting at barrier. And the one I used to take it from is also at Nima. They used to pay me 5 cents every day. It's like it depends on the sales the person makes. If it finishes on time, you come to.
According to him, he lives with his younger brother and his elderly father, who he says is unaware of his trade. Chief Superintendent Lydia Donko says despite the seemingly negligible nature of the crime, the suspect cannot be bailed unless determined otherwise by the courts, and advised parents to keep an eye on their children so they are not lured into such crimes.
Well, the police is swooped in on a popular Accra pub in an operation they say is to check crime in the area and curb excessive noise making by revelers. 13 motorbikes and 14 unregistered vehicles were confiscated in the swoop at Caldorf at Tesano.
According to Chief Superintendent Lydia Donko, There have been several complaints against the pub by residents of Tesano.
We've had a series of complaints from the residents in Tesano, especially in that neighborhood, about the activities of people coming to that pub or that bar, especially on Thursdays. It is really annoying. They are coming there to entertain themselves, but what it is that it spills over into the early hours of the morning. The roads are virtually blocked, vehicles cannot pass, and it's noisy and all of that. So we decided to look into the matter and deal with it.
Apart from the excessive noise, the express worry it has become a den for persons they suspect to be criminals and others of shady character. The Tesano police commander said the pub just last week was the scene of a clash between two gangs in which one victim was slashed several times.
The action we took yesterday was occasioned because last week a gentleman was attacked in that area. He had come there to have fun with his friends, and I believe people from a rival gang attacked him, and he received serious cutlass or machete wounds. He was admitted at Kolebu Teaching Hospital, but he's been discharged for now. So we decided to take that action and deal drastically with it and let the message go down for people who come to that area to know that they can't continue coming there and creating problems for us.
One of the car owners who was affected by the swoop is, however, challenging the police action.
They started towing people's car to Tesano police station. And my car also, they want to tow it, and I say, oh, my key is here. If they want to tow it, then they should rather drive it, because if they tow it, it will cause damage to the car. So I sat inside the car with the officer, and they drive the car here, and they park it here. So we asked them, what is the cause? They said people were causing damage around the area. That is why they are bringing it. But they didn't find anything on us. This is my car. If you like, you can allow them to open and check. There is nothing inside the car. Actually, they let me write a statement, and one of the police officers said, we parked wrongfully. Whilst I parked in front of a shop, I didn't park at the roadside. I parked at the front of a shop.
But Tesano police commander insists the police will continue to take all necessary action to curb crime and public disturbance in the area.
The Wa Municipal Security Committee has extended the ban on the slaughter and movement of livestock in and out of the Wa municipality for at least another week. Assembly members at a review meeting at Wa voted for the extension to enable veterinary officers complete the vaccination of all four-legged animals in the municipality. Upper West Regional Director of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Joseph Falung, stated the officers have so far vaccinated more than half of the 30,000 animals in the municipality and appealed to butchers and the public to bear with them.
The Upper West Regional Director of Food and Agriculture, Joseph Falung, stated that more than half of the 30,000 livestock in the Wa municipality have so far been vaccinated, and it's their hope that by the end of the week, they would have vaccinated the remaining animals. Joseph Falung further stated that veterinary officers from the other districts in the region have been brought to help and speed up the vaccination process. He praised the government for waiving the cost on all the 30,000 doses, which means the vaccination of the animals is made free. Joseph Falung appealed to the butchers and the public to exercise restraint whilst they go through the vaccination process, after which they will do a review of the ban again.
No, we appeal to people to be rational. Indeed, the consuming public are the ones who should be most discerning. What we are doing is in the interest of the consuming public. The butchers are only interested in business, but I'm sure they would not be able to be in business without their clients. It's the health of the clients that's important in this particular case. So we appeal to the consuming public to be mindful of what we are doing.
Immediately after the review meeting, members of the Wa butchers who were outside the meeting hall showed their disapproval and displeasure at the extension of the ban for another week.
Like the man wanted to punish us. So we are challenging the medical director to come out clear and show us when was the last time he saw this disease on a cow or any ruminant. Because he cannot come and tell us that we are having this anthrax. When was the last time they detected this sickness in a cow?
Yes.
That means they are not doing their work since that long.
Yeah.
Because if they are doing their work, they would have detained one of the animals. That this animal is infected with anthrax.
It's true.
So by which we never seen.
Yes.
So you are not the first director to come here. It's like he's showing his office to us.
Hello there, welcome to Joy Business with me, Abigail Admako Enchi. Now, prices of petroleum products should be going up between 3 and 20% by next week, Monday. Joy Business has gathered the price of petrol would go up by 3%, diesel will be up by 5%. LPG could also be hit by a 7% price adjustment. However, premix and kerosene are likely to go up between 15 and 20%. Sources say the increase is in line with the bi-weekly adjustment in prices. Government on September 1 stepped in to cushion consumers from paying the expected hikes. However, one is not clear whether this might be the case on Monday, September 16. Now, government has begun engaging public sector workers on next year's minimum wage and base pay. This is to ensure the adjustments are factored into next year's budget expected to be read later in November. The Trades Union Congress says this is to meet the demands for living wages for workers. The minimum wage currently stands at 5 cedis 20 pesos, while the base pay stands at 5 cedis 32 pesos. Public sector workers would, however, see their salaries go up by 10% by the end of this month, after government announced the increase in the base pay earlier this month. This was expected to take effect from 1st January this year. The tripartite committee, comprising of representatives from government, organized labor and private employers, is however currently discussing how the back pay would be settled. Now, away from the public sector, the executive director of the African Center for Energy Policy, Mohamed Amin Adams, says the inefficient investment of oil revenues into projects by government is likely to lead Ghana into the League of Resource-Scarce Countries. He was speaking to Joy News on the sidelines of a stakeholders forum on petroleum revenue management at Takoradi in the Western region. William Benjamin Peters reports.
Of oil in commercial quantities in 2007 and subsequent production in the last quarter of 2010 brought about high expectations among the citizenry, especially with regards to increased economic growth in the areas of jobs, infrastructure development and downstream economic opportunities. Despite the abundance of natural resources in the country, its impact on the socio-economic development is minimal, if not negative. The establishment of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, Act 815, therefore provides clearly defined guidelines for managing revenues from upstream petroleum sector. It also commits the bulk of the oil revenues to finance investments in human resource development and other productive infrastructure such as education, health and agriculture, with regards to the portion of the revenue that goes into the stabilization and heritage funds. Available statistics indicate that the Jubilee field has increased daily production rates at 110,000 barrels of oil per day. As of 4th August 2013, Jubilee field had produced over 74 million barrels of oil and about 13 million being the share of Ghana Group made up of government and GNPC. A total of revenues accrued in 2011 amounted to a total of $444.12 million as against an amount of $541.7 million in 2012. Again, as of end of June 2013, total oil revenue for the year was $422.76 million. A two-day stakeholders forum has been held in the Western region on the 2 years into petroleum revenue management to give participants the opportunity to dispel fears and rumors associated with oil investment. The Deputy Western Regional Minister, Fred Ekojan, called on the citizenry to limit their expectations
and rather focus on upgrading themselves to maximize the benefits from the industry.
Most companies in the oil and gas industry are not really prepared to go into real estate. They are able to house their workers, largely establishments in hotels and apartments. It is therefore incumbent for the people in the host communities to invest in hospitalities through mergers and partnerships. This is an area whose returns will be tremendous and will offer the local a fair share of the oil revenue if the right investment is made.
The executive director for the African Center for Energy Policy, Mohamed Amin Adams, however, condemned the act where governments invest in so many projects which in the end are uncompleted instead of focusing on the few that can be completed. He also cautioned that the nation is likely to join the League of Resource-Scarce Countries if poor management continues.
Why not prioritize and use the $24 million and do 3-5 routes? Complete these routes and people will begin to benefit rather than do Kitwa Bienso, distributing thinly across so many, but they live in abject poverty. Majority of their people are suffering because they are not investing efficiently.
William Benjamin Peters reports.
Now, away from the energy sector, a new report by the Population Reference Bureau predicts that sub-Saharan Africa will record the world's largest population growth between now and 2050. According to the Population Reference Bureau, the world's poorest region will more than double in population from 1.1 billion to 2.4 billion. By the year 2050, the report states Africa's population is likely to grow by a staggering 1.3 billion people, the largest growth of any region in the world, including Asia, which currently has about 60% of people on the planet. Sub-Saharan Africa, where fertility rates are among the highest in the world, will account for the majority of the increase. The report noted that in Sub-Saharan Africa, the population is expected to grow from 926 million people to nearly 2.2 billion people. And that's it for business. My name is Abigail Adumakwenchi.
Joy News Business was brought to you in association.
Taliban militants have attacked the U.S. consulate in the western Afghan city of Herat. NATO officials said international and Afghan security forces repelled the assault. Afghan militants drove a vehicle loaded with explosives into the walls around the U.S. consulate in the city on the border with Iran. A portion of the front walls shattered, allowing access to the militants, who started shooting upon entering the compound. 17 civilians, including women and children, were injured in the Herat attack. Attacks continue despite the planned withdrawal of foreign troops in 2014. Well, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov have agreed to meet later this month to try to set a date for a long-delayed peace conference for Syria. The two said the successful resumption of peace talks depended on the outcome of the ongoing U.S.-Russian talks aimed at securing Syria's chemical weapons cache.
The two men began a second day of talks in Geneva by meeting UN Arab League envoy Lada Brahimi to discuss the wider issue of peace in Syria. Talks between John Kerry and Lavrov on the weapon issue began on Thursday and could continue over the weekend. Washington and its allies accused the Syrian government of killing hundreds of people in a chemical attack in the Ghouta area of the capital, Damascus, on 21st August. But the government denies the allegation, blaming rebels. If the talks are successful, the U.S. hope that its armament process will be agreed in a UN Security Council resolution. Russia, supported by China, has blocked 3 previous draft UN resolutions condemning the Assad government. More than 100,000 people have died since the uprising against President Assad began in 2011.
An Indian court has sentenced 4 men to death for the gang rape and murder of a student in the capital, Delhi. The 4 were found guilty on all counts earlier this week.
According to the judge, the case fell in the rare category, rejecting pleas for the lighter sentence. The 23-year-old woman was returning home from a movie with a male friend in New Delhi when they accepted a ride on a private bus. The details of what followed the night of December 16th shocked the nation. The woman was repeatedly raped and tortured, her friend badly beaten. Both were thrown off the bus, bloody and battered. The young physiotherapy student died 2 weeks later at a Singapore hospital. Following the attack, people poured onto the streets of major Indian city in angry demonstrations.
Sports is brought to you in association with
Smile. You've got Higo.
Very latest in the world of sports, the 2013-2014 Ghana Premier League season begins this weekend at various match centers around the country. Ahead of the big kickoff, Joy Sports has been finding out from key stakeholders preparedness to roll out a successful season. Let's first hear from the chairman of the Premier League board, Welbeck Abrapia.
Referees have gone through a series of courses from which a selection has been made for those who will be in the center and those who will also be on the lines. And a lot of review of last season's events as far as officiating is concerned have been made known to them, and a lot of discussions have gone on. And I will say I sincerely praise the GFA's referee committee for the able manner they've handled these refresher courses for the referees. They are ready, as we've been told. Now let's come to match commissioners. In the past, we had match commissioners who were different personnel from coordinators. This time round, the two have been fused together. So
Right, so let's have a look at the fixtures for match day 1 of the new Ghana Premier League season that begins this weekend, and we're just rolling on your screens right there. We'll start with that particular fixture between New Edubiase and Accra Hearts of Oak. Very interesting game. We'll see how Coach Duncan will lead his men to do well at Gemfix Park. Now, Kumasi Asante Kotoko will be playing Adriano Stars, but this fixture will be taking place at the Sunyani Coronation Park because of the final match ban for Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Inter Allies, they are debutants in the league, and they play Ebusuma Dwarfs that will take place at the Tema Park on Saturday. Hazakas, the Hasmal boys, we say, they are up against Medium. That's an interesting derby, Western Region derby there. Becheb United also back into the league, and they'll be playing Amidas Professionals. Chelsea will play Ken Faisal. Another game will be keeping close tabs on. Heart of Lions will play Ashanti Gold, and Liberty Professionals will play Wa All Stars. This game will not take place at the Dansoman Karenda Park. It's going to take place at Accra Sports Stadium because Liberty Professionals this season will be playing at the Accra Sports Stadium. So these are the fixtures, and we'll be keeping close tabs on them and find out exactly what happens out there. Let's do some boxing now. Former world champion Joshua Clottey is set to return to the ring after an absence of almost 2 years when he takes on American Dashon Johnson tomorrow in a light middleweight contest in New York. The bout, which will be Clottey's first in stopping another American, Calvin Green, and 2 rounds in Texas, USA 2 years ago, is intended to be a warm-up towards a major fight later in the year or early next year. Right, so definitely we'll be paying some more attention to all of that happens over the weekend, and don't forget to make it at least one of the Premier League centers to find out what happens. That'll be all for sports tonight. My name is George Addy Jr. Do you have a good night? Israel, join us for Showbiz.
Sports was brought to you in association with.
After stirring up emotions and probably causing some panic at the finale of the just-ended Vodafone Icons Street Edition, a section of industry players are calling for his arrest and possibly a mandatory psychiatric checkup for Kwakesi. But will that really be necessary for a man who already calls himself Abodam?
know the name, right? This is the motto.
Paul Kese, well known for his stage name as Abodam, seems to have made his mark as a controversial rapper. Not too long ago, Abodam made a provocative appearance on stage during Joy FM's Night with the Stars, which seemed to have infuriated hip life group VIP so much that it wasn't funny anymore. This act almost landed Kwao in a little trouble with his colleagues, but thanks to stagecraft, his act was described as such and he was spared. The most current controversial act Kwao put up was at the finale of the just-ended Vodafone Icons, the Street Edition. His brother, Buddha, who might have been the crowd's favorite, dropped to the third place in the singing competition. This didn't seem to have gone down well with his fans and Kwao. So just when all was set to announce the winner, Kwao went on stage and disrupted the show. He incited the crowd to cheer his brother's name, well, this act has called for his being lashed at by some industry players who disagree with his act. Artist, manager and chief executive of Bull House Entertainment, Lawrence Nanesiama Hansen, aka Bulldog, has supported rising public calls for the arrest of hip life musician Kwao and suggested that the musician may need some psychiatric attention. My question is, does Kwao, whose other name is Abodam, which translates to English as madness, and owns Mad Time Entertainment, need psychiatric attention? Meanwhile, Vodafone, organizers of Icons The Street Edition, have issued a statement denying allegations by Kwao that a producer from Vodafone Icons called him to pay 10,000 Ghana cedis in order for the rapper's brother Buddha to win Vodafone Icons Street Edition.
In the other showbiz story, we're taking a sneak peek at Akwambo, a festival celebrated by the chiefs and people of Mankasim in the central region of Ghana as they await their big day tomorrow.
Akwambo Festival is an annual cultural festival celebrated by the chiefs and people of Mankasim. The festival takes place within a week to celebrate and is well organized by the local people, including the chief and its elders. People from all walks of life travel to Mankasim around this time of the year just to take part in the festival celebrations. Come tomorrow, they will be joined by many people as usual as they celebrate the festival, and Multi TV's Adum TV, in collaboration with Tigo, will make a stop there with Adum TV's Tigo Fest. Just to give an idea how celebrating with Tigo Fest is like, the train stopped at Techiman and it was a mammoth crowd that gathered to have fun. Then there was another bash at Ada. Just last week, it was a rocking moment at the Chapel Square in Cape Coast. This is just a sneak peek of how Akwambo celebrations with Tigo Fest would be like. You definitely must not miss out on this fun.
Now, Tigo Fest certainly coming to a town near you. That's it for the bulletin. Before we go a quick run through our top stories. The 2012 NPP flag bearer has called for a national forum to discuss proposed electoral reforms. A desalination project to end water supply problems to Teshi and its environs is progressing steadily. Residents of Ningo, still bitter over what they believe is discrimination against them, are complaining about the lack of basic social amenities such as potable water. The National Petroleum Authority has hinted fuel price increases of between 3 and 20% from next week, in line with the bi-weekly review. And the Environmental Protection Agency has shut down a mining firm over violations. That's it. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Have a good evening.